Hey, what up, y'all?
Let's go. Oh,
It keeps
man.
building. If this is after 8 p.m., you should not listen to this audio because you're gonna be way too hype.
If you're operating heavy machinery, you should not be listening to this audio. It'll disorient
But we
you.
will explain to you how to operate heavy machinery in this episode, which is great, right? The heavy machinery of your business and your mind, because your mind right now is heavy fucking machinery that's probably got you stuck. So we're gonna help you out.
We're gonna make that heavy machinery light work. Light work.
Hey, light work, right? Except light work, but high impact work. Let's go. Asif, how are you doing today?
Hey, oh, buddy, come on. Come on. Just by saying my name, you know how I'm doing. How are you doing today, Mitch?
Oh man, I'm hyped. I'm so hyped. It snowed. It's springtime and it snowed again. I was like, you know what?
Joke.
I'm grateful because this is like where men are made, right? It's like this is where the people who are weak just stay inside and they get sad. And for me, I'm like, I'm going outside just in my sweatshirt again. Let's go. You know, you gotta, the ducks ain't gonna water themselves.
Exactly.
For anyone who doesn't know, I live on a homestead. I actually have ducks. Yeah.
Exactly. That wasn't some metaphor. These ducks ain't gonna water themselves.
Hey, that'd be a good metaphor. Dude, over time we'll come up with our own metaphor. It's gonna be so sick. We'll be able to explain. Oh, were we talking about that yesterday? Shit, what were we talking about?
Remember the phrases? No?
Yeah. The phrases. I thought we had a good. I don't know. I had a badass one this weekend when we were talking about on the podcast the VR to R transition, man. How super high level concept, but you guys, metaverse is coming for your children. I'm not fucking kidding. The metaverse, they're designing it so that kids become addicted to VR, and that's gonna be sad. But guess what? Our kids are gonna be such badasses that they're gonna help the other kids get out of VR and stop being addicted
people
to it.
from the
metaverse tricks. Yeah, the metaverse tricks.
Yeah.
All right, so
rock and roll, baby. Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch. I got a question for you.
I hope I'm ready for it. Don't put me on the spot, as if you know I get nervous. Not okay. Let's hear it.
How do I? This concept of motivation seems to elude me. Do you have any tips and tricks and hacks on how I could on the how?
Yes. Okay.
Or the why as well?
No. How first? Okay, you got to wake up early. Okay, you got to do jumping jacks. Get out the bed. Do jumping jacks on the bed and wake up
on the
wife.
bed. Okay, gotcha. But I'm single and
oh. Well, that's first problem.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Don't do fucking jumping jacks. I mean, you could do them in the morning. Any shit like you ever watch the Tony Robbins documentary, the "I'm Not Your Guru" thing? So funny, right? Because he is everyone's guru, not everyone's, but he like wakes up and he does this priming thing, and he's like throwing his hands over his head. Then he jumps in this cold bath. Then he like does gratitude and all this stuff. I'm like, wow, that's extensive, right? But here's my motivation that I've been applying recently: is I wake up. I gotta let the dogs out quick, so I let them out when I make my coffee. Then I go into the room, I read a little bit of a blog, and then I just get to fucking work. Because I'm clear. It's like I don't need motivation. It's just autopilot. But if you're not at that point yet, because you either don't understand the purpose or the how, well, then go listen to our past episodes on like what you should focus on. It's titled something like that. Because you got to get clear on that. But then once you have that, and as long as you have the tools that we talk about, TechnoTutor specifically, it's like, fuck motivation. Like, you don't need, like, you do and you don't, okay? You don't need motivation because when you're clear on the purpose, you just kind of know what to do and you just get up and get after it. You don't need to, like, razz yourself up to be like, oh, I must, like, I gotta start barking like a dog or some shit, right? Shout out to someone was telling me that he said they went to some Jason Capital thing and he gets people to bark like dogs. Dude, I heard this other shit too. I really don't know Jason Capital. I saw one of his books. I'm on like chapter 1. I really haven't looked into it because I don't know, maybe I can learn from the guy, right? But the guy literally, you know how a lot of people are like, oh shit, like I don't want to be thought of as a cult leader, like being a cult or something. Dude, Jason Capital literally, he like openly talks about like trying to be a cult leader. And he
And
like
creating
wants
a
all of
cult
his
and all that.
yeah, creating a cult. He like owns it, which is hilarious, right? It's great. So welcome to our cult, the cult of YBC. The YBC, it's actually not club. You actually have dyslexia. It's actually the Young Billionaires cult, right? That's what we are.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you know, you're in the audio experience now. So back to motivation, right? Yeah, like you don't really need it. Here's what it is. You got to redefine what motivation is to you. Because yeah, you will have to use a little energy in the beginning. And to build a business, you got to like razz yourself up and get pumped about the vision and all that stuff. But if you need to do that every day and you got to like dream build and visualize and all this shit, like something's off there. Like something is not right if you have to like really like jack yourself up every day. Instead of it more just being like a natural expression coming forth, and that you've built a system around you that has the momentum going so that you just stay plugged in every day. Yeah, that's my general take. How does
I would say like the biggest thing that people miss is like the purpose point. The purpose is the 90%. I'll say 80%. Okay. And remember what I said before. These aren't hard numbers. It's just a way to get you to conceptualize the way you should think about it. If the purpose is not clear, your motivation is going to break you down. It's actually going to diminish you because you don't know why you're doing what you're doing on a very, very fundamental level. When I say fundamental, I mean on the subconscious, unconscious level. You have to fully understand. And that might take some time, but that's why we're creating these audios. That's why we have another podcast that talks a lot more about purpose, the Self-Perfected podcast. That one talks a lot more about purpose and the big picture and the existential stuff. So you can get clear on why, right? Because you have to be clear on the why, the purpose point. And if you're not living that purpose, you're always going to feel conflict. Okay, so that's one thing. And here's the fascinating point. Even if you don't know what the purpose of a human being is yet, if you are not living it, you will still experience conflict. If you don't know what the purpose of a human being is yet, you are going to experience conflict. Yeah. You're always going to be being drained and being more tired, right? And so if that's something that you want to chat about, like that's the one-on-one stuff. We give the thumbnail stuff like through these audios in the groups, but if you really want support to fill in your blank spots about what the purpose of a human being is, that's for the one-on-one stuff. You can always reach out to me, reach out to Mitch.
Okay, so here's a key point. I just realized this, right? Because like when I wasn't fully clear on my purpose in the past, I would then mask that conflict, right? Because you can mask the conflict through either like Netflix or movies or going out and drinking or smoking weed or doing drugs, shit like that.
Or listening to a bunch of music or hanging out with friends all the time or playing a lot of sports and basketball.
Brainwash yourself with success-based material and shit like that. But here's the thing: is like you know deep down what you're doing. Like you should naturally feel high. Like, and by high I mean like you should naturally feel pretty fucking good. Like as you're going through life, like hitting your goals feels amazing. Like when you actually set your life up right and you're like, we're getting to this concept of the flywheel in a moment here. When you're doing that activity, sometimes it doesn't feel good, but overall it's like it's pretty fucking satisfying hitting your real goals. And if you're masking that up with smoking weed or whatever, it's like you aren't willing to go through the pain and the discipline to actually build something real. And it's just because you're not clear of the purpose and the how, right? But hey, you're here, right? That's good. And you know, it might be a little process, but you gotta start making some decisions here.
Right,
you know?
Right. And it's worth it because our whole life has been programming us, our whole environment has been programming us to not reward ourselves for the value that we bring. So we're going to talk more about this, and Mitch is going to give you the context of what a flywheel is and how to apply this in your business, in your life, in your personal habits, in your relationships, in everything. And we'll talk about the caveats of motivation, purpose, the flywheel, and how to most effectively use it, and how to anchor your goals so that they actually mean something to you, so that you understand. So that you just wake up every day and you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. It's not to say that you're going to be jumping the fuck out of bed, like, oh yeah, jump. That's not real. That's not real. Get out of bed,
because you know there's people. They're like, I jump out of bed and I tell myself it's gonna be a great day and all this. I'm like really? Like you actually doing? Like why are you doing that? It's not necessary.
It's like, that's what you have to do if you don't, like, I, I don't know how to frame this perfectly without spending too much time on it because it's kind of irrelevant. But it's like, I don't have to tell myself I'm breathing if I'm already breathing. If I'm afraid of that I'm not breathing, I'll be like, am I breathing? I'm breathing. I'm breathing. Convince myself that I'm breathing. What I'm saying is, I wake up and I know it's going to be a great day because of what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to convince myself. I don't have to get into some state.
It's pre-programmed.
It's pre-programmed. Exactly. Spot on. So we're going to get into the details of the caveats of motivation and why motivation might not have been working for you. The first thing to consider is purpose, right? Which is the bigger picture. Assuming that you're getting clear on your purpose already and you're participating in the Sunday calls and getting those downloads and getting all the other material to get you clear on what the purpose of life is and what the purpose of a human being is, which is objective, just like it's objective for a tree and a drill and all that stuff, right? We're going to talk about the details and the caveats and the problems that you may be facing with it. So the concept of a flywheel, Mitch, please.
Well, and just for I said that is
you give the context, baby.
So like, think about your goals, right? Like the real fucking goals you have. Like, you want to be making 30 grand a month or 100 grand a month or $1 million a month or 100 million a month, whatever that number is, right? Some of you can't think that big yet, but just think of like, what is that goal where you're like, holy shit, when I'm doing that, like I got 20 grand a month coming in, I can like leave my job, I can travel, I can take my girlfriend out or my wife out, we can do cool things, we can take weekend trips, all that stuff, like the stuff that you want, right? You want to buy a ranch, you want to buy a mansion, you want to do cool things, right? You want to get invited to cool parties, you want to network with people that have powerful positions, like you want to start a place where you can educate kids, whatever, like whatever that stuff is that you really, really want, like really look at that. Like, you can actually make that happen. Like, you can genuinely make that stuff happen. Asif and I see it time and time again now with the people in our community where they've applied themselves for the right duration of time. They had the right understanding of motivation because they had the right purpose. And then as they applied themselves day after day after day, they kept themselves plugged into the system. And then they started sharing this with other people. It's like, it manifests and it's amazing. And it's this like progressive thing that keeps happening. It's really cool. So I just want to anchor you to that, to realize like, look, that's where what Asif and I are about to explain here, like, it's going to help you get there. And it's going to help you expand that dream too, so it can encompass more than just yourself, right? Because if you're just traveling and you're in Thailand and you're living like a king or whatever, well, what if you could also create an amazing experience like that for other people too? Like, that's what we want to help you expand with, is that let's make your life not just best for you, but best for everyone around you as well. And then as you can do that and others of us do that, it's like that then ripples into the greater society. And, the next generation or two, we could really start to see some awesome fucking change in the world. So we can have a world that we feel happy about and we feel good about and we're grateful for it, instead of being this world that's kind of, dicey. It's like a dicey situation out there right now with all this shit going on. So, so really, look at that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Dude, like, based off what you just said, of this dream of being able to live on the beach and be happy and all this stuff, I just to really briefly mention this, I'd really invite you guys to question that point inside of you for a couple of reasons. One of them is, why does everybody have that same image in their mind of, when I'm free, I'm going to be on the beach, right? It's because think about it. What we're talking about is programming. We'll talk more in the future about how the elite program you in your words. We'll talk more about that in the future. So just something to consider. And I've always had the theory based off of, I understand the purpose of a human being. The purpose of a human being is to give, is to create. Okay. And then I had the theory because I was letting go of that point of, man, I'm really attached and holding on to this idea of freedom because I know it's in reaction to my childhood. Being fucking shoved into school and not being able to do anything you want, and like literally being able to do nothing all the fucking time, and always being
8 hours a day and homework. Fuck that, dude. Like
they have your whole life,
right?
And that's where this idea of freedom, having no responsibility, is born.
Yeah.
Because somebody feeds us a different image, and we say, yes, please. That's what I wanted when I was a child. I didn't even know that, because it's like a feeling. It's an energy.
Yeah.
It's not the actual thing. We're not reasoning it out. But here's the interesting thing. So I had always had the theory, man, if I were to get that, I was challenging the energy, the feeling inside of me that I would get, and I was realizing, but I wouldn't be living my purpose. My purpose is to create, to be doing stuff. In other words, like, I've spent days on resorts and all that stuff, and on cruise ships, blah blah blah, where after 5 days, it's like, hey, don't get me wrong, cool. Like, I love having food all the time, and whatever the case may be, but
yeah,
you begin to start feeling it a little bit. And here's the fascinating thing. After I kind of had this intention of breaking down this idea in my mind, I met several people. I'll tell you one story of a guy named Carlos. I know that he's long distant away. Not Carlos in the group. It's a different Carlos. You don't know him, Mitch. But I met him at an event, and this is somebody who was quite well off. And I was chatting with him, and I was sharing with him this point of what the purpose of a human being is, and it's to create. And I was mentioning how when we're not in a creative mode, when we're not giving in a way that's best for the world, we face conflict. And I was talking about this point of freedom, how everybody thinks freedom is being on the beach. And it was just me and him. We were just chatting one-on-one. It was a really good conversation about being on the beach. And, we think that's freedom, but really that I don't think that would really benefit us. And he said, man, that's so funny that you say that, because when my wife and I got married, we decided to take our lives, because they had money. We decided to take our lives to Costa Rica. And we decided we just wanted to be free and happy, because we were good, we were taken care of, and just live on the beach. And I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life there. But after 2 years of doing that, he was feeling so anxious, so jittery, that he was shaking at days, because he wasn't doing anything. He came back to the US and started building business and things like that. Because that is not the function of a human being. That is not the function of a human being. So just inviting you all to question that idea in your mind as we come into really understanding your dreams, your goals, et cetera, is we'll talk more about sculpting that in a way that actually makes sense for you and taking your next step rather than the big dream and all that stuff. But just inviting you guys to question that idea of freedom or the dream that you have. All right.
Yeah. And part of what that will look like, I mean, I see this with you, Asif, I see this with Kian, myself, Seth, all sorts of guys in the group, Drake, Cameron. It's like Avery, especially. It's like, you hit this ability to really crush it and make money, and then you can go on vacation. Like, I was just in Florida the other week, and it was fucking awesome. But around day 6, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get home. And I look forward to the next time I'm going to see you guys, because I'm going to see you guys again in like 3 months. Fuck yeah.
Agree.
I'm stoked for that. It's like, I'm active. We're already creating the next event, but I'm also in the moment enjoying it. And I'm also looking at, okay, what do I have to do when I get home? Like, what is good, right? Because I have responsibilities here, right? We live on a farm. We have animals. We have different things that just need, it just needs
groups
your attention.
That you run, events that you host.
It's real responsibility, but that is the most amazing thing. And so for everyone here, realize, like, likely what your dream is, and this motivating vision and all this stuff is, you're going to have a fucking sick home base. Like, you have a really cool home base, like a headquarters. And that's like your command center where you operate from. And it hopefully has a nice view. It's inspiring. It's nice. You got your wife there. You got your kids there one day. Maybe you got some animals, or maybe you don't like any of that. You actually do want to live like Owen and Chantel. They have a sick fucking place right by the beach in Miami. It is great. And then they're
on
looking
Miami
at
Beach,
and then they're looking at, okay, where do they want to live though, and put down roots. And we were looking at some places around there, because when we were visiting them, we went driving around, and there's a place like 20 minutes south of there on this like island, and I think it's called Key Biscayne or something. And they're set on living there, but it's like there's like some freaking mansions down there that are amazing. And it's like, that's so cool, right? Because then you have your home base, which is like your spot where you feel good, you feel inspired, motivated, just kind of naturally. And it's like life-giving, right? Your wife is happy with it. You got kids, you have space. And then you're still close enough to the cities, right? So you can throw in events. Down the road, many of us are going to get into politics, right? Like I need to be close enough to the city. So if when Pedro's running for governor, he's like, hey, I'm doing an impromptu meetup today. I'm like, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. It's like, that's the kind of life that we're designing, because you need to still be plugged in. And of course, there will be those times, right? Like in July, I'm looking forward to it, right? Technotutor, we're doing that event in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, whatever. That's going to be amazing, right? I'll probably go there for a whole week. We'll hang out at the resort, and I can unplug. But then guess what? We're still working. I'm supporting people. We're talking to people. So I just want to really paint that for people, so you can see, like, yeah, your dream is not go live in Costa Rica for 2 years. I mean, that might be your current dream, and you might react to this, but you'll be like that guy. Like you can do so much. And hey, maybe you're creating an amazing business and you have a retreat center in Costa Rica. You can teach, because I've been to Costa Rica and I stayed for a week at this permaculture forest. That was fucking amazing. And I ate food I didn't even know existed. I saw this way of sustainable living. It was like in the rainforest. There was like a river and a waterfall. It was like paradise. And guess what? We're going to do sick masterminds there. And we'll get people from around the world, say, hey, come meet us in Costa Rica for a week. We're going to do a deep dive into business and stuff. But again, the purpose is not so then you can just go live there and unplug. You're going to go fucking insane. Plus, deep down, the whole world is this slow creep of fucking technology, and the pandemics and all this shit is going to creep in until at one point it's like, who's going to come knocking on your door? They're gonna be, oh, hey, government has changed to this, or hey, are you in compliance with XYZ? It's like, I'm not going to let that happen. That's why we moved here to where we live. So we're close enough to Minneapolis where we can take a stand, right? So we're just far enough out where you don't hear police sirens at night. It's like peaceful, right? Neighbors are cool. Everybody. We've got enough room for the kids and everything, but we're still close enough to the city where in 30 minutes, if there's no traffic, I can be there. I can be at any event. I can go meet up with people. I can do meetings, things like that. And that's really an ideal setup. And I know you have a similar thing with Melat and just in general, man. It's really epic because we're still plugged into the system, but we have an amazing setup. So
exactly.
With that being said, right? Hopefully that helps you all clarify your vision and is motivating in itself for you to see. So now
I remember this one point of when I was going to events before I had purpose, before I had something that I was actually creating, and before I had my purpose clear, right? Clear purpose. I would go to events and I would be wishing that they wouldn't end. Right? I'd be like, oh, no, like the final day is coming, like, oh, and you get this, there's kind of like a little bit of a feeling of dread, but it's very, very subconscious. It sits in the back of your mind. You can't really see it too much unless you put your attention on it. But it's this dread of, you're going to go back home and you're not going to feel good like you did at the event.
Yes.
But like you were describing, I experienced it just exactly like you said. You said it really well. It's like, you're happy, you're grateful for the time that you got to spend with other people and a new experience. And you're also excited to get back home and start putting everything that you've learned and integrated into creation mode.
Yeah. And then it's like, you bring it back with you, right? Like the inspiration and the ideas that I had from when I was just in Florida, or the times where we would go to events and stuff. It's like, you then come back and then you share it with other people, because that's what we have our clubhouse, right? Locally here, we have 6 a month. And at those clubhouses, then it's like, I'm sharing the cool stuff that I learned and the insights I had. And then people are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then they want to get involved. And so it's this, so this is what it is, right? It's called the flywheel. Yep. And now this is what everyone's got to realize. You have this, okay? Okay, so flywheel in simplest terms, right? I first heard this concept from Sam Ovens, actually, but he was explaining how Amazon had created a flywheel. So it's this term that gets thrown around in business circles and stuff like that. I believe it originally came as a metaphor from a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And actually, I'm reading the book. I tried to read it years ago and I couldn't read. So now I'm reading it and I'm actually like, holy shit, this is pretty practical, right? Some of the vocabulary.
People are going to think you're fucking retarded or something. I couldn't read a couple of years ago.
No, like I was reading like hundreds of books a year. It just means like when you actually don't have all the words properly structured, if you're not using TechnoTutor, like you're not able to actually really comprehend everything. You might comprehend 60%. And that's why you're like, oh, cool. Like I'm doing great. No, like there's that extra 40% that you're missing in terms of how to real time practically apply. Like reading is a physical process. It's not a mental process. You got to reach out one-on-one. I can explain that to you. But it's like a computer. It physically runs the program. That's what reading actually is. And your reading speed right now can 10x, like no joke. Mine did. And it's amazing what happens. So I'm actually reading, right? I'm actually like pulling in everything. And so this book, right? Good to Great. Now I'll just read, there's like 2 parts of it that kind of explain it. I think this would be really cool for kind of jumping off. And I mean, again, this can turn into 6 different episodes from this alone, but here's how he explains it. So he says this. Okay, picture a huge heavy flywheel, a massive metal disc mounted horizontally on an axle about 30 feet in diameter, 2 feet thick, weighing about 5,000 pounds. Now imagine your task is to get the flywheel rotating on the axle as fast and as long as possible, right? Picture it like this, right? You got like a jet, like an airplane, right? And then the engine, and it has like a giant rotating disc in it, right? That's one example of a flywheel, okay? So now he goes back to this. He says, pushing with great effort, you get the flywheel to inch forward, moving almost imperceptibly at first. You keep pushing, and after 2 or 3 hours of persistent effort, you get the flywheel to complete one entire turn. Okay, so imagine that, right? This is an analogy for your business if you haven't picked that up yet. And there's key drivers that he goes into, which I'll talk about in a second. But he says the momentum of the thing, right? So eventually, right, you're pushing. Actually, I'll talk on these. He gives like 6 parts here. They're cool concepts to be aware of. Again, if you have technical tutor, throw these words in so you can actually really grasp this. So he talks about the key drivers of the flywheel. One, he talks about momentum, right? Like an object at rest tends to stay at rest, but if it's in motion, it tends to stay in motion. So that's why as you get the flywheel pushing, right, it can start to build momentum slowly yet surely. Next is feedback loop, right? So as you're adding more input into the system, it will feed back and it will actually start to feed itself, right? The faster it moves, the more energy it generates. Again, it's same as in your business. Then there's a term he uses called autocatalysis, which is, he calls it a runaway feedback loop. But this is when it's like it becomes at some point, it's almost out of control. It's like it's runaway and it actually starts feeding into itself, which again, if you've built a business, you see at some point this happens and it's pretty fucking amazing. Then he calls it compounding return on effort. No one push makes it happen. It's continuous small inputs, right? Over time, it adds up to an impressive output and it starts to compound on itself. All right. Then something called network effects, right? And network effects is where now it's like you have enough nodes in the network so that it's like you now have staying power. Again, another great word for technical, right? Staying power. And we can talk more about that in a moment. But then he talks also about like a direction, right? And so it's like a clear direction that keeps pushing the thing, right? And then he goes on to say this. He says, the momentum of the thing kicks in your favor, hurling the flywheel forward, turn after turn, whoosh. Maybe it's whoosh, right? Maybe that's how I meant to say it. Hope you're still awake, listening, everyone. Its own heavy weight working for you. You're pushing no harder than during the first rotation, but the flywheel goes faster and faster. Let me say that again. You're pushing no harder than during the first rotation, but the flywheel goes faster and faster. Each turn of the flywheel builds upon work done earlier, compounding your investment effort. 1,000 times faster than 10,000, then 100,000. The huge heavy disc flies forward with an almost unstoppable momentum, right? And here's how this now works. You will have some people that will come up to you, right? And they think, oh, you're an overnight success. Okay. Asif, what was the one push you did on the flywheel that made it all work, man? What was the one hack? What was the one trick you did that made it all work? And to that, you'd obviously laugh. You're like, that's not how it works, buddy. Right? But this is our point, right? This is how motivation, success, goals, taking the action, building the system, all of that stuff, this is how it works, is you do the right system, and you push again, and you push again. And even after an hour or a day or a week or a month, you might be like, is it working? Fuck, I can't tell if it's working, right? But as long as you know you're doing the right thing. Again, if you're trying to do your own system in la la land, trying to make some shit work that's not proven, good fucking luck. It ain't gonna work. You're gonna then actually hit burnout. But when you're doing a proven system and you can make sense of it and you understand why it works and you understand what you do that works and doesn't work, you have that understanding piece, right? Dude, that's what broke me through to the 30K early on with the e-commerce is I put through my tech notes and I said, I understand why I make more sales. And it was like, I could then see it real time. I was like, holy shit, like, okay, because I did these 3 things, it worked. I figured out what I was doing to push the flywheel. And then again, it grows and it grows. And now it's at a certain point, like, dude, I wake up like this morning, I woke up and in my DMs, I had 3 new messages of people saying, hey, I'm loving your content, what you're doing. Let's get on a call. I'm ready to hear what you're doing. Like, would you be open to sharing? 3 different messages of people reaching out to me. That's a flywheel, right? I put in enough input. Now it's like, oh, here it is.
Right. How many videos do you have on your YouTube though? Right, just to really get
I
the
don't
context
even
of a
know.
flywheel.
Yeah. A lot.
Like,
there's a lot.
Yeah. Like,
and watch
hundreds.
them. You can see my progression, right? You can
Yes.
see from day one, I was talking about this stuff, but I didn't fully have it all figured out. I'm still learning, obviously, but now you can see like, okay, dude, if I can do it, you can do it. It's not that fucking hard. I just have discipline.
It's a really interesting, it's a really fascinating phenomenon, because this is one thing that billionaires understand that the average person doesn't, is time. Time. This is why the biggest sabotage of riches, the biggest sabotage of society is getting everybody focused on today and tomorrow, where they can't see. If you mention something that might take a year to accomplish, months to accomplish, there's no connection in their brain. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes,
everyone's
right?
under the spell of instant gratification.
Yes,
or at least
exactly.
short-term gratification, right? Some people are like, no, I know it's not instant gratification. But then a month later, they're like, why am I not seeing results? It's like, you've only been doing it for a fucking month. Like, reality takes fucking time. Have you ever had a child? 9 months to grow that baby, and then how long till they're even starting to walk and talk? Right? Or you grow garden, for example, too. Like, that's why I love living on the homestead, because I get to see like how nature progresses, how long it takes to build shit. But then when it's built, it's like, this is impressive. Like, it's awesome. Because then it's all on. It's like, wow. And then you hit a certain point and your harvest is too big and they're like, holy shit, I got to go bring this and give this to people. You know, that's how business works.
And the cool part is there's a reason functionally why building something takes time, is because in that process, let's say it takes you a year to get 1 or 2 full rotations of that flywheel, where it has a little bit of its own momentum. You still have to push it, but it has a little bit of its own momentum. What you have to learn in that process for your business is everything you need in order to make sure that flywheel or your business is growing in a healthy way. And what I mean by that is, like, okay, for example, that what Mitchell just described, that's what I experienced when Maylat and I, my wife and I, made the decision to have a child. It was like this, quote unquote, big decision, because it wasn't like, okay, we're going to have a child in 6 months from now, and then we're going to build. It was like, okay, we're going to have a child. It was very rapid. Like, we weren't really considering it anytime soon, at least for the not next couple of years. But then we talked to our group. Like, this is when you network with other billionaire mindset people, it's like, wow, they really can support you on a whole new level. And because we were at an event in person, they really started suggesting, hey, we consider having kids as soon as possible because of the time that it takes. And, me and my wife, we talked about it very briefly, but because we've already worked through a lot of fears just about the unknown and all that stuff in general, it was like, we talked about it for a bit and we're like, are you clear? Yeah. Are you clear? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's do this thing. And it was, it was a significant decision.
Did you feel fully ready in the moment when you're like, okay, I guess I'm ready? Like, how did you feel in that moment? Just so people can have some context.
The only reason I felt stable is because I know that you will never feel ready for any major decision. And I was at peace with that.
Say that again. That's so valuable.
Right? Just getting into business and investments and taking other people's money for investment. Oh my God, what if we screw it up with other people's money? And now we have, 7 figures of funds from other people. Getting to that point, it was knowing, like, look, we don't know everything already. It's impossible to know everything already. And making peace with that, coming into this decision of having a child, it's been really cool, because I got to experience the result of all the prior decisions that I've been making, of getting into business and investments and all this stuff, where we got to experience the benefit of making peace with, you'll never feel ready. So it's like I've adjusted. This is the value that we always tell people. Don't go based off your feelings because you can change how you feel. It's like the reason I felt at peace, the reason I quote unquote felt ready is because I adjusted what ready means to me. Kind of like you were saying earlier, it's like you have to adjust the way you've defined the motivation. Like I've adjusted the way I defined ready. And ready doesn't mean I can see it all. Ready means I trust myself and I have enough data to know that it just makes sense. So with that decision, right, we made this decision, we conceived, we got a month later, a whole month, right? We didn't even know. We could tell just because of what that was, certain symptoms that she was experiencing with her body and her everything, right? We were like, oh, I think you're pregnant. And then it takes like a month to do the actual pregnancy test to get that confirmation. And after we got the confirmation, it was like, damn, we did it. Like, you're pregnant. Like, wow, cool, how exciting. And then get this, guys. We made this big decision. Oh my God, are we ready for a kid? Yeah, we're ready for a kid. Okay, let's do it. Right. And then after that, we have to wait 8 months. I want you to just imagine 8 months. And 8 months from now, you're like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna be a fucking millionaire in 8 months. You know what I mean? Like your perception of time relative to 8 months, I was like, whoa, like this is a lot. We made this big decision to have a child, but it's gonna be 8 months before that child is even here. Wow, I can't believe I was making a big deal about it in terms of like, you know, this is gonna change everything now. It's not going to. Things take time. Anything that's real takes time.
Yeah,
And
so true.
the timelines will always vary based off of what it is, obviously. But it's really just this understanding this concept of a flywheel. The best visual representation, Mitch, tell me if you agree with this, but it's this idea of a train. Just because I think a lot of people have that from watching movies and stuff like that, is like when a train is taking out of the station, the train station, and it's like the wheels on the side that has like a rod across the wheels. It's super slow. It's so slow. Like it takes so long. And that's why people can run after trains and all that stuff. It's because it's so slow. And also the reason why trains like destroy cars and get into accidents and things like that is because once that thing is pumping, once that thing is going, it's got the momentum. It's like when those wheels are rotating so quickly, it takes so much to stop that train. That train is stopping so far in advance of the actual station. It's hilarious. It's like comical, right? It can see a car that's stuck on a railway a mile ahead, and it's already too late. Yeah, because of the momentum that train has, which is a really good visual.
And that is the level that we're here to play at, right? And that's what you and I have built already. And we're still not at full speed. And it's like, again, it's like, well, why do we make the audio experience now? Shouldn't we have waited until we're fully ready and we have mastered every single thing in the universe? No, because it's not realistic. It's like, we know enough that we can really fucking help people. And so it's so fun to see, because you guys now imagine when you and 500 other guys just like you and us all have our trains on at full fucking speed. And then we're each getting 5, 10, 20 more people that are all getting up to speed. Can you see that? Is that part of your vision board? Does that get you hype? Like, does that help you stay motivated? Because that's where it's headed, right? Because Asif and I are fucking clear, and we built a system along with the help of others like Cameron, Avery, Seth, right? It's like we have the system. We are unstoppable. And so just ride alongside with us and then learn what we're learning. You can go faster than us. But at some point, we're all equally then moving at high speed. And then we can really start to change things, for the better, and have so much fun doing it. Like that's what this is about.
And I just want to anchor this point, because to really show you the scale at which we're playing at and how effective the tools that we have in terms of creating equals. Well, we're not here to be your fucking gurus for real. Mitch is the perfect example of that. Mitch started off as the quote unquote the mentee, right? And myself and my brother were the mentors. But that was so short-lived because Mitch was actually applying himself. It was so easy for him to become equal to us. He knows everything we know and more, right? So that way we both
that
have
was
the same
basically
things.
I would say that was my first, it took me probably 9 to 10 months to actually now be like, okay, I can get on a call and I can really support asset.
But how many freaking coaches and all that stuff do they feel like they can now coach their coach as well? You see what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, like actually do it. Like, I know people's
yes.
egos and shit, and they're like, oh, I could coach him. It's like, no, like, actually, like,
How many people does Tony
you can do that.
Robbins train to become equal to Tony Robbins? So it's like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
the point.
I don't
The
know.
point is
None.
now exactly right. Like you right. It's like now me and Mitchell, we have this an equal relationship. We're partners now, right? Same thing with my brother as well. For a long time, even with my brother was supporting me to not be retarded for a long time. But now we're equal. I support him, he supports me because the tools work. It was only once we had these tools that it was actually working. Same thing with you and me. Is like we know how to create real equality. So now we're doing business together. You're not my quote unquote mentee. You're my partner, right? So now we're doing things together, and we're adding people to that group of the new 1%. Not 1% stringing along a whole bunch of people. It's the new 1%. That's what we're creating. We're creating equality so that we have people we can trust. We have people who have to walk a process of change so they understand what real change is. And we have people who are extremely effective. So, Mitch, I know you've mentioned this before. You've walked certain people through a really powerful exercise. Are you cool with sharing that here?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, we make these audios so that you can listen to it now, but then like a month from now, listen to it again, because you're going to get so much more out of it, because your flywheel will be moving differently. Like, you'll be in a new spot, right? So yeah, it's pretty simple, right? But like, just answer these 3 questions. I would definitely suggest write it down. But and the theme of this conversation being about the flywheel, motivation and goal setting. So here's the first one, right? Is what is my flywheel? Okay, so there's actually gonna be a few questions, right? What is my flywheel? You got to actually be clear on that first. For many of you listening to this, it's you're involved in what we do, right? So it's like being in the business of then sales. So yeah, I mean, and ideally your flywheel, it morphs what you're doing. So it includes, like, if you have like a sales company, right? Maybe you sell 2 products. Maybe you sell TechnoTutor, but then you also sell something else. It's like, okay, cool. So your flywheel is you being an effective sales. It really should be a sales leader, because you shouldn't be the salesman forever. Like, you got to start as that, and you can crush it as that. And maybe you do want to be a salesman forever, but really being a sales leader, right? So what is your flywheel? Okay, next, what is the action that pushes the flywheel? What is the action that pushes the flywheel? Right? It might be talking to new people. It might be making content. Like, there's going to be a few things, right? It might be asking for referrals, right? Just going, talking, doing presentations, finding new leads, that kind of thing. Okay. So what actions push the flywheel? Okay. Now let's look at motivation.
And let me just say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
That second question is so important, to be very specific. Like, don't be vague and just say lead gen. Yeah. It's like, what processes? Like, be very specific.
Yeah. Is it like I go to 3 events per week and meet people and give them my pitch or whatever, right? Yeah, or I go into X amount of Facebook groups a day and I talk to people, or I post 3 things on social media per week or whatever. Like, be very specific, right? Then put it in a place where you're gonna fucking see it.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Write it on a piece of paper and put it on your desk right above your computer, so you're looking at it all the fucking time. Because that's like, how Napoleon Hill talks about burning desire? It's like, that's a real burning desire. Is you look at that thing every day and you think about it all the fucking time. At least 8 hours a day, right? Like, you're thinking about, okay, how can I get that better? How can I enhance it? And how can I add new things to it? So there's that, right? So now, next part, right? Motivation. Let's look at motivation, right? Right. Just write this down. Like, what is my motivation? Could be anything. Could be, I want to have kids one day. Could be, I want to find a wife. Could be, my wife is my motivation, right? It could be, I have principles, right? I want to do what's best for all. It's who I am, right? I am just motivated to do that. It might be that your motivations also, you want to hit a certain amount of money per month. So write, what is my motivation? Right? You can maybe pause this if you need time. Really get detailed on this too. Okay. Now, last part is goal setting. Right? I write down. Here's the interesting point. Again, we can make a whole episode just on this, is on goal setting.
Yeah, we're probably deeper.
Yeah. But it's what are the best goals for me to have? Right? What are the best goals for me to have? And write down, right? Maybe you realize you gotta get your girlfriend, you gotta take your girlfriend ring shopping. So you gotta get engaged. Right? Maybe it's you gotta have that conversation with your wife about having another kid or something. Or maybe it's you have to teach your son something, or maybe you have to hit a certain amount of money per month. Now, if it's a money goal, okay, which everyone should have some sort of money goal for sure. Look at, here's just a super pro tip. Kian initially taught this to me. You and both Kian and Asif did. And
for those of you, just because I know we're going to mention him so many times, for those of you who don't know, Kian is my brother. We do this business together. Yeah. That's why. That's why.
Yeah. That might not be clear to everyone. Yeah. And so what Kian taught me was this. Well, you guys both taught me. Because I remember when I was telling you my goal is like after a month after I got techno-tutor, so you can finally really get through to me. Like, what's your goal? I'm like, $2,000 a day. Yeah. Okay. And how do you actually feel about that? Like, first thought, I was like, fuck, it's too much. So I was really good at deluding myself.
Dude, like, you had that shit. Like, what were all the where were all the ways you were impulsing yourself with that goal?
Oh my gosh, I was doing I had written it down. I put it on note cards. I did my self-image exercise for months. I was writing it down. I'd write it down 70 times a day, 7 days a week, because that was what I thought it took to do it. That's just what I learned before I techno-tutor. Then you guys are telling me, you're like, dude, why are you going to waste 70 times a day doing it? Is it even working? I was like, dude, you can literally put that in techno-tutor one time and then it'll be in there. Like, why the fuck are you doing 70 by 7? Like, damn. I'm like, okay, sure. Right. So I did that. And then you asked me, you're like, okay, so how do you actually feel and think about, like, can you make 2K a day? And again, at the time I was learning from this guy who was doing e-commerce, who was making, God, I don't know, it was like 8 to 10 grand a day. So within myself, I'm like, well, he's not 10 times smarter than me. He's not 5 times smarter than me, whatever. I'm like, I could for sure do like 2K a day. But even within myself, I still could not trust myself to do that. So thankfully, Asif sat with me, right? Power of one-on-one calls. And he helped me work through that. And then I switched my goal, right? So my best goal, and this is why I'm sharing this, so you can do this for yourself. My best goal, or my best month, was $3,000 a month in profit in terms of that business, right? And so thankfully, then you guys sat down with me and you're like, okay, how about your goal? Instead of $3,000, how about you make it 3,500, 3,500? Could you do that? I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, wouldn't that feel good to at least hit a little bit better than your best month? I was like, yeah, it'd be good, right? Because then I'd be growing, right? And I'm sure I'll figure out how to get more than that. Boom, and within 1 week, right, I was stuck in this holding pattern. And it was 1 week combined of using techno-tutor, as well as talking with you guys, reprogramming my goal, and then boom, within a week I hit it, 3,500. Then that whole week, or that month, I think I hit 5K that month. And then the next month, 10K, then 20K, then 30K. You know, most of you know the story. And guess what? 3 months in, guess how much I was making per day? Over $2,000, right? And so that's the point, is you can still hit that big audacious goal you have, but you have to change how you think about it. So that's why for this exercise right here, right, with your piece of paper, write down, what is the best goal for me to have? And if you have a new business and you never even made a sale yet, then just look at, what do you have to do to make the sale? If you have to go present your product to 5 people, and on average, if you present 5, you're going to get a sale, or present 10, you're going to get a sale, whatever the numbers are in your business, just figure that out. Then just look at, okay, what was the best week I ever did in my business? I did 2 presentations 1 week. Okay, great. This week, make your goal, do 3 presentations in a week. Okay, and then you do that for a week or 2 in a row. Then bump it up to 4, then bump it up to 5. And guess what? At a certain point, if you're doing that much, if you're still not making sales, you got to reach out to one of us. Something's off. But most likely, and especially if you have these tools, you're gonna fucking figure it out. And then you make one sale in a week. Cool. You made, I don't know, a couple $1,000 or $100 or $500, whatever. Cool. Now bump that up and bump that up and bump that up. That's how it really works, right? That's like nature. It grows in stair steps. It's not these big swings. And when it tells you about a quantum leap, it's just trying to sell you some bullshit. It's the stair step approach, right? It's that flywheel. It's that push.
Oh man, I gotta
push.
tell you something, man. I don't remember if I told you this, but this is funny. I was talking to what is 2 years ago, and I was talking to this life coach and just seeing where they're at and seeing if they're open, all this stuff. And she started mentioning, she's like, yeah, it's about taking your quantum leap. And I have this moment of boldness because she was not self-aware. Like, she really was not. So I was like, this person, if I don't go for the little shock, or just poke at them, they're not going to do anything. And she's like, yeah, it's really important to have these quantum leaps. I'm like, what do you mean by quantum leap? And she was like, well, when you, I'm like, yeah, but when you're saying like quantum, like you're not just talking about a big change, because then you would just say a big change. Like, why are you saying quantum leap? And dude, she got back, bro. Like I wasn't being abrasive, like I might sound right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm just curious, like, what do you mean by like quantum leap though? Because we could say like, and dude, she did not know what to say. Like, she was just like, that's really fast. I gotta look into that. But she was saying it this whole time. It's probably coaching people on how to have quantum leap. She didn't even know what quantum leap is.
You know what a quantum leap is? It's quantum, so it's so tiny that you don't even notice you did it.
Oh my god, that's what actual quantum means.
That's actually what a quantum leap is. Spell broken, right? There you go, everyone. So right? Funny. Fuck a quantum leap. Just understand the flywheel and do a flywheel push as much as you can every day sustainably, over and over and over and over and over and over. Plug in with other people, right? That should be part of your flywheel push, is talking to like-minded people. The only people I can vouch for are the core people who are like behind this group. Because again, I don't know everyone, and a lot of people are going to lead you astray. But if you have that, right, that is the real fucking change. Because over time, that momentum wheel builds as long as you stay steady. And if you stop using the tools consistently, if you stop doing the activity consistently, guess what happens? Your flywheel fucking slows down, and then it's a grinding halt again. Then you got to start again. And then you bitch and complain about it. And then you find out all the reasons why, I just knew I couldn't do it, and I knew it, blah, 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 blah. And then you go back and you get a job, and you live a sad fucking life. Don't do that, okay? Do the flywheel. Do what we're talking about. Your life will get fucking awesome. And then you can share that with other people too. Do you know how fucking good? Okay, it feels good to hit your own goals, right? It's great. It's fun, right? You can go on your vacation, whatever. But it feels even fucking better when you help another person hit their goals. It is like so great, because then wow, if I didn't step up and apply myself in my process, this other person, I don't know where they'd be at, but then they're thanking you. And then like we got one guy in the UK, he sent us, didn't he send you a Christmas card? He sent me a second Christmas card. I had another person send me a book. They're like, yo, thank you for the content, and a handwritten letter. I'm like, that feels fucking great. All right, that's a good, and I don't do it for the feeling, but it's pretty damn cool when that happens, right? And that adds the motivation.
Exactly. That's the flywheel of motivation. Like the thing that everyone's looking for, like a reason to be excited and all that stuff, is like, do the thing, do the damn thing, and give it the time that it needs to flourish. And then you'll be getting all this feedback, right? The feedback point that one of the drivers of the flywheel that will just feed you. Create something so that it feeds you.
Yes. Right? And here's so you can see, right? This is the flywheel that we've created, and we invite people to jump on so it can help you push your flywheel even more effectively. Is then at a certain point, right, in your business, right, you get enough people in that are affiliated and they're growing with it, and then you blow them away because what you provide to them is so good that they're not only thanking you, they're now going and sharing it with other people who then come back and feed your business. And when you're getting new people, and then you're wowing them, and then they're bringing you more people, and then you're wowing them, and then they're bringing you more people. You see how that builds to a level that you can't even fully fathom yet. It's like, that's the real flywheel, right? It becomes a self-reinforcing perpetual machine that you've created. So I would suggest add that to your list of what your goals are, is to have that. And then reach out, right? Add that to your list too, right? Connect with me or connect with Asif. and join the calls, right? Plug in so you can see other people just like you that are doing this. And we see people growing faster now than we did. And it's amazing, right? And so that's the exercise, right? Is just get clear on that. Again, listen to this again in a few weeks, right? And do this process again, because you're going to be smarter. You're going to change, right? You're a different person every time you listen, to an extent, right? You probably have a lot of the same programs and a lot of the same limiting beliefs, but if you have the tools we talk about, obviously you're changing that. And then you're also a different person, right? Because the cells in your body are changing, your neural pathways are changing, like things are changing. And then as long as you're changing the programming too, you become a force to be reckoned with, right? Just like that train going full speed ahead. So that is that, everyone. Okay. I think that's enough for today. What do you think, Asif?
This train ain't stopping, baby. This train ain't stopping, but for another day.
Yo, we need that sound. We need a fucking sound.
Fucking steam whistle, baby.
Yo, that's how we should end each call. Dude, that'll get people so fucking hype. They're not going to be able to sleep after they hear this.
All aboard. Hilarious.
Here's another pro tip, right? If you ever get too hype in the evening and can't sleep, sometimes I will just go and I won't go on my phone. I won't go places where I'll get sucked down a rabbit hole, but I might just go sit in my office and turn on a little light, grab a piece of paper and just start writing stuff. Or I might do some of my process, right? Do some self-forgiveness, do some techno tutoring, and just get clear with the understanding of look, I'm not going to stay up all fucking night, but I'll set a little constraint for myself. Say, okay, for the next 30, let's say 20 minutes to 40 minutes max, I'm just going to work on myself, get clear, write some notes, be clear for tomorrow. Okay, get this out. Great. Now back to bed, right? And then I wake up the next day and I just do the same thing, right? Train keeps moving. And I'm fucking stoked, right? Because 1 year from now, bro, we're going to look back at this and we're going to laugh because we're going to be like, holy shit, remember we basically just predicted that? It's that's called pre-programming, and you can do it with yourself and you can do it with the world. And so
Abracadabra. For those of you who don't know if you guys don't know that magic word that people say,
it's how you take a
abracadabra.
I'm just kidding. It's actually the opposite.
It comes
it's
from
really cool.
The two words abracadabra.
Yeah.
And what it means is I create as I speak.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's from Aramaic, which is the actual language that Jesus spoke, but not many people know that. A lot of people think he spoke old school English, like King James version, right? And they think he had blue eyes.
Ye thyself. And guys, just to wrap the story of the life coach who didn't know what a quantum leap was, the best she could do is send me a picture of a page in a book the next day saying, here's what it is. She couldn't even, she thought that because she read it in a book, that meant she knew it. But this is just to show you, she read it in the book. She still didn't know what it meant. And then in order to prove that she know what it meant, she just sent me a page of the book. She was like, see, I knew it. Wait, you still didn't. Anyways, so my point is, you need
don't be that guy.
Become,
okay,
you need to become your own authority.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't be that guy who's fucking sending pictures from a book only, right? But you saw with what I did, right? I read a little bit of the book in here, and then guess what? I was able to expound on it, right? Asif and I talked for however long we just talked here on this because we know it. And we can actually apply it because we can actually
know this stuff, and we share the context with you so you can get even more value. Not, I don't know what I'm talking about, and me taking a picture of a book proves that I know what I'm talking about. It's very different.
Right. And then we put it in a way that we know the average person, more or less, can digest. And then they can take it and let it marinate. Right. And
so
then,
prove that we did a good job and go apply this shit.
Prove it. Yeah. Yeah. So leave a comment, right? Leave a comment with what you learned. If you want to share what you got out of this, and especially the stuff you wrote down, please share that, right? Other people need to see it. And then leave us a like or a thumbs down, whichever is your preference. And then join the Discord, right? And then share this with 3 people. Share this, right? More people need to hear about this stuff. There's so much garbage out there. This stuff works. We're the proof of it. We have a whole group of people that are the proof of it. Join the Discord chat and connect with us, right? Because for those who are serious and those who actually want to get in the room with us and chat about this and become a fucking billionaire, we will show you the way. So join us, and we'll see you in the next audio experience. Choo-choo.
See you later, everybody.